Hi, today I'm going to show you a simple and easy way you can calculate Vimshottari Dasha using the Vedastro API. Vimshottari Dasha is a very accurate system that you can use to predict life events, and you'll be able to get data that looks something like this. This is the JSON output, one of the API calls, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to get that. You don't have to know any knowledge in calculations, though you can dive deeper and find out more. So all you gotta do is head over to the Vedastro page, vedastro.org, and then look for something called the API Builder. It's in the left hand side menu right here. So I'm going to click on that and give it a moment to load. And once you have the API Builder going, you can easily build the API call that you need to get a data that looks like this, whereby this is raw JSON data, whereby you can make amazing front-end GUI that looks like this. For instance, this is one way we can present the data. So this is the same data that you see here, and you can use your front-end code to take this JSON data and show it in this form, or show it in, say, a table form like this. So it's many ways you can present that data, and I'll show you how you can get it in a pure, what you call raw JSON format. And it's really easy. We can get it in a simple one API call. So head over to the Open API Builder under vedastro.org. Once you're here, go down and you'll see browse call. So I'm just going to hit in the search menu. I'm just going to search for Dasa, something simple, and you can see there are several Dasa calls. And today I'm going to focus more on the Dasa range, because it pretty much gives us all that we need of a Dasa. So a Dasa is a period that runs across a long period, and we are going to be able to zoom in and pick out a certain Dasa. Now, a Dasa, as many would know, runs for about 120 years. I mean, the whole system as a whole goes for 120 years, from the person's age 0, age 1 basically, all the way to 120 years. Technically speaking, we can go beyond this 120 years, and we can go even before the birthday. I mean, technically it's possible in the calculations, and it will work perfectly fine. But for more normal use cases, we'd go for a certain period. So, also to keep in mind that in order to calculate 120 years, you're going to be losing a little bit of accuracy. You're going to take a lot of time to calculate. So to simplify the matter, we made a Dasa added range. So what this allows us to do is that it allows us to zoom in on a certain period in a person's life and pick out that Dasa range only, so that we can have a much more accurate, detailed view of what it can be. Now, so I'll show you how you can get that. Once you've selected the Dasa, right, all you got to do is you have the input parameters pop up, and you only have a few parameters to fill in. First, of course, is the birth time. So the birth time here simply means the birth time of the person whose Dasa we want to calculate, right? So we just click on it, and let's say we got to give a date that's beyond the range that we want to count. So let's give a believable date, someone probably born in 1980, Alright, so let's say 1st of October. There we go. So that's already set, and of course you type in the location, the name. You need a location. Sorry, you need the time, and you need the location. If you can, don't forget to put in the time of the day as well, right? And that'll be fine. Now, next thing we have is something called the start time and the end time. So what this means is that instead of going 120 years all the way, 120 years, we're only going to scan a certain part of the person's life to get the Dasa range, because in order to calculate total 120 years, it's going to take a long time. I'm not saying you can't. You can calculate 120 years. But in a normal API call, we want a quick view, or we want a fast response time, whereby we're able to calculate maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 5 years. And we're able to also zoom in at a much deeper level to get a more accurate view. So that's why we have something called Dasa added range. Then again, always keep in mind, you can go for 120 years. You're not saying you can't, you can. But in order to have a fast response time, and for practical purposes, not always you want to scan 120 years all the way. You want to see for 10 years, 5 years, 5 years back, 5 years forward, that's about 10 years. And scan for Dasa for that range instead. So for those use cases, and for all use cases, this works perfectly fine. So start time would be, let's say I'm going to scan for 5 years. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, let's say 2020. Now, You don't have to set the month exactly to January. Now I'm going to leave it in October, so that to show you that the system will automatically check. You don't have to be very specific and say, oh, we want it 2nd January to December or something like that. The system will automatically find the dasa that's happening at that time and fit it all nicely in this JSON format that you see here. Alright, so I'm going to go in here and 2020, so let's give it 5 years, right? So I'm going to go 2024, 2025. Now what's really interesting is the API is really intelligent and it knows how to fit the dasas in the time frame correctly. So what I'm going to do is that, I can even come in here and say I want to scan till August. So you see the discrepancy here? So we started from October, but we're scanning till August of 2025. It's not even an exact 5 years, so you don't have to worry about this kind of things. You can scan on the fly, so to say, wherever we want, wherever the user wants to seek. Alright, so that's very simple. Start time, end time. These are the range in which we want to view what dasa is going on. Dasa, of course, runs beyond this time and after this time as well. Right? Next up, as you scroll a little bit down, you're almost done. As you scroll a little bit down, you'll see the advanced options. Now, again, this is optional and you don't have to fill it in, but we can go in and take a look at what we have here. Now, we have something called levels. Let me quickly explain what it means. In Dasa, we have many ranges. Dasa simply in Sanskrit means time period, and we have many levels. So we have the first dasa that takes a long period that runs for years. As you can see, we have the first dasa, PD1 we call it. At level PD2 we have something called Bhukti, and beyond that we have PD3, we have Antaram, and then Antaram. So there's many names to it, and across many regions their names always changing, and based on dialects and certain slangs, it's hard to identify different names. So that's why we have renamed it from PD1 to PD7 or PD8 as we go. PD8 is the last possible dasa. Now PD is nothing complicated. It simply means planet dasa. That's what PD stands for. So in order to call this, some people call this Maha Dasa, some people call PD2 Dasa, some people call PD2 Bhukti, some people call PD3 Antaram, some people don't. So the reason we have renamed it is to avoid this confusion and to make it unambiguous, to make it very clear that what PD3 is. When I say PD3, it means PD3 to everybody. It means the third level of dasa that we calculate, third subperiod. Now we go back into this just to show you a quick example. Take Venus for example. Venus takes 20 years, Venus dasa. So what it simply means is that within Venus we have subperiods as well. Again, the 9 planets take another role inside this period, and beyond that we have sub and sub and sub. It keeps on going. So that's what PD1, PD2, PD3 and PD4 and up till PD8 means, right? They are subversions. They're basically fractions of the main dasa, and it's as simple as that. And that's what this level here means as well. So this level here is talking about how deep of calculation you want to do. You can go all the way up to PD8. So the technical possibility is 1 till 8. You can go to 8. But you also remember, the more accurately you calculate, the longer it's going to take. And not always you need the accuracy. So you always go for the accuracy that you're going to use. If you're not going to use PD7 or PD5 or PD4, then you don't have to calculate. You're going to waste time calculating. I mean, the compute resources is one thing, but the main issue is always that how long are you going to wait for the calculation to take place? You can set up accuracy levels here. For instance, if you put in 8 and you set an accuracy level of say 1 hour, it could possibly take 1 hour to calculate one person's dasa. So and 120 years. Of course, we're only scanning for 5 years, but technically you can scan 120 years, and it will take almost 2 hours, perhaps, depending on the compute resources available. And that's how long are you going to wait for an API call, right? So to simplify the matter, that's why we have, based on experimentation and common use cases, we realize that most people would like to know the dasa, the Bhukti and the Antaram, which is basically PD1, PD2 and PD3. So that's why we auto set the levels to PD3, right? That's what the levels here mean. Right? Just to show you the API call, we just show you up here. So this will be level 1. You can see dasa, level 2 Bhukti, and level 3 Antaram. That's what it means. Level 1, 2, 3, PD1, PD2 and PD3. Alright, so that's what the 3 means here, okay? Going going on. Next thing we have precision hours. So the precision hours here simply means, if you can read this little tooltip that comes up here, but what it simply means is that it doesn't mean you lose the accuracy. It simply means the date at which a certain Dasa period starts or ends can be plus minus 100 hours. The accuracy is a plus minus 100 hours. So it doesn't mean that you're losing what you call the accuracy in the prediction, or you're losing the accuracy. It's just the possible start time and end time, the scan rate. Of course, we can put a very low number like 1 hour. But what good would it do? I mean, you'll be wasting tons of compute resources and time and wait time. Remember, when this number is very small, like 1, it's going to take a long time to do the calculations. It's perfectly fine, but you got to play with the range as well. So this is what the API is really good at. It allows you to modify and customize Dasa at a range. It allows you to modify and customize until you get the perfect API call that you need. So we found out that, based on experimentation and common use cases, that if you want, for instance, a 5-year scan, you check for level PD3 up till Antaram, and you want an average what you call precision rate of 100 hours, right? So the next thing is INAMSA. INAMSA is that there are many. I mean, Vedastra supports literally every single INAMSA known on the planet. It's the only API that supports all this, and it's completely free again, right? So it depends on the user. I mean, some people like to use Raman, some people like to use Lahiri, some people like to use Krishnamurti, and you can try and experiment and see which one you like most, or which one you're comfortable with, or which one your book, what you base study on. All INAMSAs have some validity. It is based on the tuning of the astrologer. There is no such thing as a perfect INAMSA. That's why we have so many INAMSAs available, right? So it's auto set Lahiri Chitrapaksha because that's the most common one used in most people, but especially people in the Indian subcontinent. But by no means do you have to stick to that, right? Next one is JSON format. Right now this is not fully functional. The standard is JSON. Hopefully in the future we have something called the JPEG table, whereby if you generate the API call, you'll immediately get something that looks amazing like this. So you don't have to deal with something too raw like this. I mean, it's still a work in progress. Hopefully one day you'll be able to make this a simple API call and make it easy for everybody. And your donations would help to make that goal a possibility. So right now we're going to stick with the JSON because that's what we have supported right now with the code, and it's working. The code is open source, and you can always make your own server or your own program with it. So right now it's working, and you want to leave it at JSON. So let's see. I'm going to generate the API call. The good thing is I've already pretty much went through the API call, and I've already generated some. To save you some time. So take a look at this. So right now, if you looked at this API call, it might look a little bit confusing, but where the time starts, there's several locations and all that, and that's why we have this wonderful GUI to help us, to make that to arrange all this data. You see, you've put in a lot of data here, a lot of little data points here, and you're getting this really simplified. Sorry, not to put simplified, but rather it arranges for you easily, and when you hit test call, you'll get your calls like this. So I'm going to show you some calls here. For instance, let's say this is one of the calls I did earlier. So you can see that we start with 3 levels. We have Dasa, Bhukti, and Antaram, right? So that's 3 levels right there. Now if I went ahead and I clicked on, say, 4, let's say I changed this to 4, and I made a API call, I would get something that looks like this. So you can see the levels are there right now. Sometimes it's not there. Level 3 wasn't there because it's been set as a default, but it will appear. It doesn't matter. The API builder automatically deals with all this, and you get something like this. You have level 1 at the top here. You have level 2. You have level 3 Antaram, as you can see, PD3, and you have level 4 Sukshma. As also you can see, level 4 is only 17 days, and that's for Rahu, right? So Rahu is one of the planets with the most fraction, if I'm not mistaken. Rahu has 18 years. That's a big number right there. So for instance, certain planets like the Sun, you're going to have a small fraction of that. So it can be even, matter of just less than a week, less than 2 weeks. So it can be something small, and further still, we have something called PD5 here. So in this case, this API call has something till PD5. So if I set 5 here, and I made a call, I would get something like, of course, it's going to take some time. So I've saved the time and I made the API call beforehand, and you get something. Look at that. PD5 is 2.7 days. So this depends on some astrologers. Some astrologers prefer this, some astrologers don't. They say at this level that accuracy goes off. I say not. But this is where, experiment, find out more. And you can see, we even have PD6, where it's 15 hours. This of course takes some time to calculate. It could take something like 20-30 seconds to calculate. And we are working hard to improve the time and to make it as less as possible. So every day, if you're using, hopefully in the future it'll get shorter and shorter, and we hope to achieve response times less than 5 seconds in the future. I mean, it's technically possible, and you're working hard to get there. And again, your donations would help a lot to make that dream a possibility. But look how accurate you can get. You can get up to 6 levels. Look at that. No other API call out there, I believe, as far as I know, allows 6 levels right there. I mean, actually it can go to 8. But it's going to take a lot of time to calculate. That's 5 hours right there. Look at that. So we can calculate to an accuracy of 5 hours, even with hours. So it starts at at 1 a.m. and finishes at 6 a.m. On the same day. That's 5 hours right there. So this is Avi Prana. So again, as you can see, these kind of names get confusing. Sometimes in some cultures and dialects, Avi Prana could mean PD7, it could mean PD8, or it could mean PD5. So to avoid the confusion, we use the word technical name. You see the word technical name here? So technical name is the programmed name. It's the name that does not change across cultures, because it's pretty much standard. Saturn is the parent lord. You can see the connection. Saturn, parent lord, is the first name in the technical name, and the second name is the moon, the child planet. The child, meaning the child of Saturn's period, but the lord of this period, of this Avi Prana, of this time period. Again, Dasa in Sanskrit means time period. That's all. It's not that complicated. And of course, here we have the prediction. Now, this prediction is interesting. It is not written by me. It is not written by anybody living, to be honest. It was written about 100 years ago by B.V. Raman, and I believe it's extremely accurate. And it's also, if I'm not mistaken, B.V. Raman himself did not write this. He simply translated from an earlier text. So, it's highly accurate, and I wouldn't change it. And I would try to use it and read it from a point of view as tags, and not as a whole sentence. And from my personal experience, I found a lot of accuracy in this, and I recommend many people look into it as well. For instance, the nature here is simply the summarization of this. I mean, it's nothing much. It could be bad, it could be neutral, it could be good, and it's just a summarization of this text. This text would be the final prediction, in my opinion. But sometimes you want a quick view. Is it a good dasa? Is it a bad dasa? Period. So we have a quick summarization. We call it bad, neutral, and good, and that's all. It's not the final one. The final one would be this. So I recommend those to trying to say, okay, what's going to happen to me or this person in Avi Prana during this period, during this 5-hour period, which is extremely accurate. You'll be surprised when we do calculations. The accuracy that we get, it's absolutely amazing. Take a look at this. Steve Jobs left Apple right there. I mean, look at this. Is PD3, if I'm not mistaken. Many people won't even use PD3 because they say the accuracy is off. I say not. Look at that. I mean, come on. That's an accuracy that you can't beat right there. What about this? We can even go further. Take a look at Marilyn Monroe's death date. Or the date she got married. I mean, even if the newspaper articles were off by a week, this accuracy wouldn't be achieved. And look at this. Again, we go with one of the famous characters in history. I mean, the accuracy here is achieved using Dasa system, using the Vimshottari Dasha system, which has proved itself over and over again. And here, of course, we go up till PD8 or PD more, and of course, we also include the Gochara. And the accuracy is absolutely amazing. We went up to, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 levels right there. That's up to PD4. And look at the accuracy. I mean, come on. You can't make this kind of stuff up. Look at that. The day she was joined test was exactly on the day the spike is the most green. In order to achieve a green level like this, you need 4 PDs. PD1, PD2, PD3, PD4 to achieve such accuracy. So I say PD4 is the accurate level. And from what we can see, PD4, it lasts for, let's have a look what PD4 lasts, how long an average PD4 lasts. 17 days. That's less than a month. Less than a month. I mean, come on, you're achieving accuracy less than a month at PD4. So if you get the burst time correct, you can achieve amazing accuracy with the Dasa system, and all that is easily possible with a simple API call, called Dasa at range in the API built in Vedas.org, and the whole code is open source, so you can dig in and see. If you come in down here, Dasa at range, you see, if you go to the code, you click on this little guy button here, it will take you straight to the source code where you can read and understand how each and every single calculation is made, what the levels mean, what the precisions are, and so on. And I hope it helps you, and thanks for watching.